let's explore maybe the most evil and terrifying vault in the entire Fallout series. A vault where an outside vault dweller becomes an overseer and creates a massive vault after the bombs fell. A vault that was meant to harbor all the species of animals pre-war, essentially like an ark. And a vault where some of the greatest musicians of the pre-war era were subjected to psychotic breaks and mass murder, plus more. Welcome back to another vault video in a series where we plan to cover every single vault mentioned in any official lore in depth. That includes all canon, non-canon, and anything in between, and this specific video is a damn good one. If you're just joining us, we've covered Vault 0 all the way up to 84 in these videos, so check them out. Also, consider subscribing, because you won't want to miss out on future vaults in the series. And if you guys find yourself enjoying the video, maybe you could just take a second to like the video. We'd really appreciate it. It helps out the video and the channel a bunch. Enjoy. Vault 87 is one of the most infamous locations in the Capital Wasteland, sitting northwest of Little Lamplight and southwest of Broadcast Tower KT-8. In Fallout 3, it serves as the birthplace and stronghold of the super mutants and centaurs that terrorize the region. Construction of Vault 87 began in May 2066 and wrapped up in December 2071. Like all vaults, it was equipped with advanced technology. A Cyberbrain V2.3 is its main computer system, energy supplied by a General Atomics nuclear reactor with a backup fusion generator, and even a Garden of Eden creation kit, or GECK, which you'd assume means it'd be a utopia within a hellscape. Yet, as with most vaults, the reality was anything but. Vault 87's original purpose was scrapped around 2076, when it was converted into a research hub for the Evolutionary Experimentation Program under Dr. Wayne Merrick. The goal? To study the effects of the Forced Evolutionary Virus, or the FEV, on humans. Seems like a brilliant idea, right? Subjects infected with the FEV initially showed some promising physical changes. Both male and female test subjects transitioned into an asexual state, with males developing enhanced upper body strength and both sexes gaining thicker, more resilient skin after about 10 days. However, things quickly went downhill. Mental deterioration set in, leading to extreme anxiety, uncontrollable rage, and ultimately death or termination after just 2 weeks. One particularly grim case saw female subjects suffer catastrophic brain function loss, further dooming the project. Despite these catastrophic results, the Overseer and Vault security teams remained loyal to Vault Tech's directives, at least at first. A year after the Vault was sealed, mutated test subjects escaped containment, overwhelming security forces and turning the Vault into their own twisted domain. Those who weren't killed were subjected to forced mutation, marking the beginning of a new generation of super mutants in the Capital Wasteland. The escaped mutants didn't stay confined to Vault 87 for long. They began spreading out across the DC metro area, capturing humans from all over the wasteland to bring back to the Vault for dipping into the FEV vats. Their reign of terror lasted nearly 200 years, fueled by their savage ways and relentless pursuit of new subjects. However, by 2277, the Vault's supply of FEV, referred to as the green stuff, had nearly run out. Without the means to create more, the mutants began scavenging desperately for new sources. The lack of reproduction options probably didn't help their species' long-term survival prospects. And it's kinda crazy to see how a lack of sex would drive a species to take such unthinkable actions. By the time players encounter Vault 87 in Fallout 3, it's in a state of utter disrepair. Decades of neglect and mutant rampages have left the Vault's subsystems in shambles, with entire sections collapsing under the weight of time. Despite their limited intelligence, the super mutants have adapted parts of the Vault to suit their needs, repurposing medical recovery rooms into makeshift prison cells for defective mutants or their unfortunate human captives. The area around the Vault entrance boasts the highest radiation levels in the entire Fallout series, spiking at nearly 4,000 rads per second at the center and around 3,600 rads per second at the doorstep. For context, the next most irradiated location, the Monongahela River near Pittsburgh, only reaches 2,665 rads per second. At these levels, a player can expect to survive less than a third of a second. According to cut content from Fallout 3, the Vault's Overseer noted the catastrophic damage in their logs.
I'm quite sad to report that due to a direct hit from what I presume to be a nuclear weapon or the entry area of Vault 87, we will be unable to provide scouting reports as outlined in Vault Tech's operations manual. The main door to Vault 87 is damaged beyond repair, and we're detecting extremely high levels of lethal radiation outside. and in the entry tunnel.
For those brave or foolish enough to approach the entrance, survival requires stockpiles of Radaway, Rad-X, and radiation-resistant gear. Even then, the door is inaccessible, as the Overseer's note makes clear. Near the entrance, you'll find the remains of a scientist in a radiation suit. A reminder that even preparation can't save you from Vault 87's toxic legacy. The super mutants have fortified the entrance with barricades made of broken girders and wrecked vehicles. They can withstand the intense radiation without harm, thanks to their FEV mutations. Among these mutants is the potential companion Fox, whose role we'll explore later. For anyone daring to engage the mutants and approach the vault, fast travel does remain an option, though at this radiation level, you'll almost certainly die before you make it anywhere. Vault 87 plays a pivotal role in the main questline. To access it, you must complete the Waters of Life and then speak with Scribe Rothschild at the Citadel. From there, you'll be sent to recover the Garden of Eden Creation Kit, Vault 87's most valuable artifact. You can only reach Vault 87 through Little Lamplight, with Mayor McCready offering 2 routes. The first and most dangerous option is Murder Pass, a super mutant infested gauntlet filled with traps and weapons like missile launchers and miniguns. The safer option involves fixing a broken terminal in Little Lamplight, which grants direct access to Vault 87. To unlock this route, you'll need the Child at Heart perk, a high science or speech skill, or you must rescue Penny from Paradise Falls to convince Joseph to repair the terminal. If none of those options work, you'll be forced to take the long and treacherous path through Murder Pass. Once inside, the vault feels familiar and run down, with its narrow corridors and interconnected small rooms. The dim lighting and ominous atmosphere set the stage for what lies ahead. Super mutants, centaurs, and evidence of failed FEV experiments, including mutilated bodies and gore bags. The highlight of Vault 87's story is the introduction of Fox, a friendly super mutant sealed in a test chamber for decades. Fox communicates with the Lone Wanderer through an intercom, offering his help to retrieve the Gek in exchange for his freedom. True to his word, Fox ventures into the highly irradiated chamber to recover the device, and assists in fighting off enemies along the way. Fox proves invaluable, not only as a guide but as a powerful ally if the Lone Wanderer has good karma. Later, he can be recruited as a companion, providing his strength and loyalty throughout the rest of the game. The premise of Vault 87 is intense, but more importantly, culminating one of the most memorable characters of the series, Fox, makes venturing to 87 worthwhile. And as we mentioned earlier, going in is necessary since it's part of the main questline anyway.
I entrust you with the future of our vault. Vault 88.
Vault 88 is one of the more unique locations in the Fallout 4 universe because of how players can leverage it. It is an unfinished vault that doubles as a settlement, tucked away beneath the Quincy Quarries. By 2287, it remains incomplete, with only its main entrance, security, and reactor rooms finished when the bombs dropped, halting construction. Intended as a testing ground for experimental vault tech devices, its potential was left unrealized, until you step in. When you first approach Vault 88, you'll stumble upon a group of raiders trying and failing to force their way in. Overseer Barstow, still very much alive thanks to her ghoulified state, warns them of their futility via an emergency broadcast, setting the stage for your arrival. Once you've dealt with the raiders, you can use your Pip-Boy to open the vault door, marking the beginning of your new vault building adventure. Inside, the Overseer tasks you with retrieving the Vault Tech control board from the reactor room to reactivate the workshop and free her from behind a caved-in corridor. From there, you'll uncover additional control boards scattered across the vault, unlocking new sectors and gradually expanding the workspace. By the end, Vault 88 becomes one of the most seamless and expansive settlements in the game, limited only by its 3 exterior entrances: the main vault door, the subway entrance, and the University Point Pharmacy entrance. Vault 88 is vast, with multiple chambers and passageways. The main cavern is a sprawling space filled with debris, construction equipment, and remnants of the vault's incomplete design. Using workshop mode, you can scrap nearly everything: destroyed trains, massive debris piles, and even limestone walls to clear the way for further exploration. But tread carefully. The vault is teeming with feral ghouls, including a glowing one and one particularly notable ghoul named Julian. The North Tunnel takes you through mole rat infested areas before arriving at a ruined subway platform. Here you'll find the North Sector control board and more feral ghouls. Beyond the control board is the North Sector workshop, and nearby a limestone wall conceals a cave home to a leveled legendary Deathclaw. Scrapping another wall in this cave connects back to the North Tunnel, creating a handy shortcut. Along the way, keep an eye out for uranium veins and barrels. These provide nuclear material and are scattered throughout the North Sector. The northeast tunnel descends through metal stairs and more mole rat infested areas, eventually leading to a brick and concrete section filled with feral ghouls and the northeast section control board. Past the control board is a northeast sector workshop. Clearing nearby limestone walls reveals a rad scorpion nest and a cave passage leading to the east sector. Further exploration unveils another wooden barricade which unlocks the University Point Pharmacy entrance. As you clear the sectors, Vault 88 becomes a massive workspace, perfect for creative builders. Overseer Barstow provides guidance and a bit of Vault-Tec propaganda, encouraging you to test experimental devices on unwitting settlers. Successfully completing all her experiments earns you the Legend of Vault 88, a unique jumpsuit variant that's a nod to your efforts. When the world went up in nuclear flames on October 23, 2077, Vault 88 was still a work in progress. It was being built near a big uranium deposit to provide a steady stream of nuclear material for all sorts of Vault experiments. But surprise, surprise, Vault-Tec couldn't get it done in time, and because of that, a lot of lives were lost. In one of Vault-Tec's biggest construction screw-ups, the entrance to Vault 88 got buried under tons of rubble the moment the bombs hit during the Great War. It stayed hidden for years until some curious raiders stumbled upon it. We know this because that's when the sole survivor shows up to the vault. Yes, that's us. And inside, Overseer Valerie Barstow was still alive. Kind of. She turned into a ghoul after 200 years, but she was still kicking and totally committed to keeping those raiders out. Even surrounded by a bunch of feral ghouls, she wasn't about to let anyone mess with her life's work. But what exactly was her life's work? Unlike other vaults, Vault 88 wasn't built for just one experiment. Instead, it was meant to be a testing ground for all kinds of prototype tech that Vault-Tec wanted to roll out across their entire Vault network. The plan was to start pumping out new devices every few months, with human test subjects rolling in as early as 2078. Safety, morality, not Vault-Tec's problem. They were all about speed and results, no matter the cost.
I like him. I think we found our man.
Gee, thanks. Found what exactly?
We're looking for a volunteer, Clem. Someone to test some new devices that will help everyone. Are you interested?
You mean I can stay? I mean, yes! I'll help out. I like helping.
Thing is, Vault 88 never even came close to being finished. By late August 2077, they had barely set up the entrance and reactor, and the rest was still a massive construction site. Even in October, not much progress had been made. Most of the workers were just using the entrance as a flashy distraction for visiting VIPs who were set to come by on October 23rd. Unfortunately for them, that brief visit turned into a permanent stay when the bombs dropped. Now, Vault 88 is home to a whole bunch of ghouls, with Overseer Barstow still holding down the fort, for better or worse. Beyond that, lore is not set in stone. That's because you as a sole survivor create Vault 88. And no Vault 88 is exactly the same. Hundreds and thousands of different designs and layouts can be created. But that's not the only issue for concrete lore. Because in this story, you also hold the keys to the experimentations and future of the residents. The sole survivor could follow the directives of Vault-Tec and continue their heinous experiments. Or you could choose to make their lives better and use the experiments in a more ethical way. This eventually leads the sole survivor to a big decision. They can kill Barlow and become the Overseer, expel her and become the Overseer, or let her stay as the Overseer, but they are still in charge. So what is the story of Vault 88? Well, that's up to you. Maybe the sole survivor created a paradise in the wastelands, or maybe it's just another evil vault in a list of many that Vault-Tec created.
Welcome to Vault 92, the Juilliard of all vaults. This underground shelter in the capital wasteland was intended to preserve the world's greatest musical talents during the Great War. At least, that's what the invitations promised. The truth? Vault 92 was designed to test the insidious effects of white noise generators that implanted subliminal messages into the minds of its residents with disastrous consequences. Located northwest of the Deathclaw-infested ruins of Old Oni, Vault 92 began construction in May 2062 and was completed by 2068. Designed to house 245 occupants for up to 100 years. It features state-of-the-art amenities, a General Atomics International nuclear power reactor, a Brainpower 7 computer control system, and an impressive supply of sound equipment, musical instruments, and recording gear. Vault-Tec claimed it was all in service of preserving humanity's musical legacy. But beneath the symphony of intentions lay a discordant reality. Once the vault sealed on October 23, 2077, Overseer Richard Rubin implemented Vault-Tec's secret plan, WNMSCE, White Noise Mind Suggestion Combat Experimentation. The goal was to implant combat suggestions into residents' minds, using modulated ultra-low frequency white noise, basically weaponizing the vault's music.
I can't believe what I've discovered. Just before he died, one of the security team members told me everything. The Overseer has been implanting these murderous intentions in the entire vault population without my knowledge. Using the loudspeakers in the dorms instead of just the studios, he subjected everyone to the white noise as they slept. He then implanted combat suggestions he claims came from Vault-Tec itself. He must be completely insane. No observation, no controls. I'm going to have to confront him now and make him pay for what he's done. Half the vault is dead. The other half, fighting for its life. Good luck to all of us. And may God have mercy on our souls.
The early tests seemed promising. Isolated musicians in soundproof booths began exhibiting minor behavioral tics that proved that subliminal messages were working. Residents remained unaware of the manipulation, aside from some noticing the occasional odd pitch or static in their recordings. Relationships thrived, like the romance between violinist Hilda and recording supervisor Parker. But the experiment didn't stop there. Rubin extended the white noise to the vault's living quarters, overriding Professor John Malleus and his research team's original scope. Rubin ensured residents couldn't escape the signal by blocking personal sound players and headphones. At first, the results were celebrated. 33% of subjects experienced trance-like states, and the success rate for minor suggestions was near 100%. But it wasn't long before cracks began to show. The first major incident came when a musician designated subject V920717 suffered a psychotic break, murdering 3 dwellers before being taken down by 23 gunshots. This wasn't just an isolated case. The white noise signal caused neurological changes, dizziness, nausea, loss of higher cognition, and eventually psychosis. Professor Malleus grew alarmed, pleading with Rubin to halt the experiments. But Rubin dismissed the casualties as necessary sacrifices and introduced a command phrase, "Sanity is not statistical," to pacify affected residents. You may recognize this phrase as a reference to George Orwell's book 1984. It didn't work. Within a month, 12 more incidents occurred, leaving 7 dead and dozens injured. By then, 30% of the vault's population, roughly 70 people, were clinically insane, and another 35 were dead. Malleus proposed abandoning the vault entirely, but Rubin refused, clinging to his belief in the experiment's value. As chaos consumed Vault 92, its structural integrity also began to fail. Built near underground water sources, the vault suffered from widespread corrosion, with leaks and fractures spreading throughout. The lower levels were especially vulnerable, and the technical team's patchwork reinforcements couldn't hold back the inevitable flooding. When the command phrase failed and Rubin lost control, he doubled down on his denial. He ordered the security team to eliminate Malleus, hoping to silence dissent. By then, the vault was a full-blown war zone, with the remaining sane residents arming themselves against their deranged neighbors. Malleus, learning the full extent of Rubin's betrayal from a dying security guard, confronted the Overseer. But it was far too late to save Vault 92. The vault's maintenance crews were either dead or incapacitated, and the crumbling structure succumbed to the underground lake. What was once a sanctuary for humanity's greatest musicians became a tomb, filled with the bodies of its residents and overtaken by mutated creatures. Weapons, explosives, and remnants of Vault-Tec's failed experiment lay scattered throughout, serving as reminders of the vault's tragic moments. Now, Vault 92 may have been a hub for musical talent, but by the time we arrive, the upper levels of the vault are overrun by bloatflies, while the lower levels are home to mirelurks, and depending on your level, you might encounter tougher enemies like mirelurk hunters or even mirelurk kings. It's a nasty transformation for what was once a sanctuary for the world's greatest musicians. You can also find the Soil Stradivarius, which may be one of the last pristine violins in the entire wasteland. It's part of a larger quest outside of the vault. But objects like this may be considered one of the most rare things in the world now. Once a haven of creativity and promise, the vault is now dark, a decaying shell overrun by the creatures of the wasteland. The walls tell a story of brilliance turned madness, of a society undone by Vault-Tec's hubris.
The situation is getting out of hand. Over half the population of the vault is exhibiting savage tendencies. Can only assume our noise experimentation has awakened some dormant part of their psyche, brought their primitive nature to the surface. In essence, I feel that they are almost psychologically devolving. I was stupid for rushing these experiments. And now over 35 people are dead.
Unlike many vaults designed with sinister intentions or dystopian social experiments, Vault 94 had an ostensibly noble goal: to test how nonviolent ideological groups could adapt to post-apocalyptic societies. Can you guess whether or not this vault ended with a happy ending? Vault 94 is hosted on the border of the Savage Divide and Maya regions of the Appalachia, and was built on the principles of faith, nonviolence, communal living, and ecological harmony. Its residents, largely from an agricultural religious community led by Gabriella, were tasked with living in accordance with these values for a year. They were expected to help rebuild the world after their shelter period ended. Instead of a traditional overseer, governance was left to a community council where every resident had a voice. Vault-Tec, of course, had other ideas. The vault was deliberately stocked with high-value resources but lacked weapons or defensive tools. The residents were encouraged to open the vault to armed and desperate wasteland survivors, forcing them to either adapt their peaceful beliefs or face the consequences. A lone Vault-Tec employee, Tyrone Hayes, was stationed as a special overseer, tasked with monitoring the experiment while posing as a maintenance worker. He had no authority and was under strict orders not to interfere. The vault was equipped with advanced agricultural facilities and a vast seed bank to monitor and preserve Appalachia's ecosystem. A Garden of Eden creation kit was also secured in a special wing, requiring a council to vote to access. However, the vault's idyllic vision was shattered before it even began. On October 23, 2077, the Great War erupted. Tyrone attempted to delay sealing the vault to allow more of Salivar's congregation to arrive. However, the failsafe triggered, locking the door at 1:30 p.m. The second bus of residents arrived too late, leaving many locked outside to face the growing radiation. Inside, the survivors blamed Hayes for the loss, creating an undercurrent of tension that lingered even as the community adjusted to life inside the vault. As the year-long shelter period neared its end, Salivar proposed sending ambassadors into the wasteland to invite survivors back to the vault. Hayes, knowing the community wasn't equipped to handle the dangers of the wasteland, strongly opposed the motion and revealed his role as Vault-Tec's overseer. Despite his warnings, the council approved the plan, and the vault reopened on October 23, 2078. The ambassadors, armed with nothing but their faith and dreams and access codes, ventured into the wasteland. Many met brutal ends, tortured or killed by raiders, and left as horrendous decorations. One ambassador, Mariah Collins, planted a garden outside the vault to test the soil, but her efforts were overshadowed by the increasing hostility the community faced. In November 2078, a vault ambassador approached Harper's Ferry, claiming the vault could feed the town. Mayor Miranda Vox sent a group of survivors to investigate, but their suspicions quickly turned deadly. Believing the vault's welcoming nature to be a trap, the survivors massacred the council and stormed the Gek wing. Mistaking the device for a mind control machine, they destroyed it with a minigun, triggering a catastrophic meltdown. Complete moronic behavior. The resulting level 6 nuclear explosion released a radiation surge of 7,800 rads per second and transformed the area into a toxic swamp. The explosion also unleashed a dense fog that mutated the region's flora and fauna, leaving 94 and its surroundings a haunting wasteland. By 2102, Vault 94's door remained sealed, requiring an access code carried only by the ambassadors, most of whom had perished. In 2103, the vault was unsealed, now infested with mirelurks and other mutated creatures. Dwellers from Vault 76 eventually raided the vault, uncovering its tragic past and battling the strangler heart that had taken root within. As for the vault itself, I actually like the look and layout of the vault and the garden-esque vibe it has. Just outside the vault, you'll find an experimental garden established by Mariah Collins, one of Vault 94's residents. The garden was meant to test the viability of crops in the post-war world, a testament to the vault's original mission of ecological harmony. Nearby, a shallow pool of water, derelict vehicles, shacks, and crates paint a picture of life just before the vault's sealed doors open to tragedy. A cave covered in mutated mire vegetation leads to the vault's entrance, where the real journey begins. Interacting with the vault door controls grants access to the interior, where nature's reclaiming touch is evident. The entrance area is teeming with flora, including melon and carrot flowers, providing a hint of the agricultural focus that defined Vault 94. Across from the iconic cog door lies the security station, complete with a reception desk terminal offering insight into the vault's operations. The atrium serves as a central hub of Vault 94. Its large, lowered central area is filled with plants, a reminder of the vault's mission of ecological preservation. On its southern and northern ends, the atrium connects to the agriculture wing and the reactor wing, respectively. The western side features the council room, which overlooks the entire atrium. In the council room, akin to an overseer's office in other vaults, is where the community council once met to make critical decisions. The agriculture wing splits into two main areas, the greenhouses and the seed banks. The greenhouses are overgrown with vegetation and include several research terminals, a chemistry station, and scattered loot. Meanwhile, the seed bank holds alphabetically organized machines containing various plant seeds. Scientific equipment and seed bank management terminals can also be found here, making it a treasure trove for those seeking supplies or lore. Accessible through the engineering hallway in the atrium or via operations, the reactor wing stands out with its distinctive red-colored walls. The first floor houses essential facilities like pressurization, voltage regulation, and condenser rooms, along with the primary and secondary reactors. A decontamination chamber lies just to the north, requiring Hacker 1 to access. The second floor offers a reactor control and monitoring stations, each equipped with terminals and overlooking the reactors below. Hayes' room is also located here, providing more context to the vault's story. The northern end of the atrium leads to operations, which houses a weapons workbench and connects to the security and GEC wings. The GEC wing is particularly notable, with a radioactive central room holding the device surrounded by a green mist. While the GEC itself is non-interactable, the area is rich with workbenches, terminals, and of course, more lore. Though the residential area is inaccessible in its current state, removed content gives us a glimpse of its original design. This section featured multiple levels with everything from nurseries and classrooms to workrooms and common areas. It would have offered a detailed look into the daily lives of Vault 94's residents, but now it remains a shadow of what could have been. Vault 94's residents are long gone, their tragic stories scattered throughout Appalachia. The bodies of 12 vault dwellers, still wearing their jumpsuits, can be found across the region, a sad reminder of the vault's fate. Its overgrown halls and mutated inhabitants tell a story of hope and kindness being trampled in a world lacking knowledge and kindness.
Vault 95, tucked away on the northeastern edge of the glowing sea, tells a tale of hope, betrayal, and chaos. Designed as a rehabilitation facility for those battling chem addiction, this vault wasn't just another of Vault-Tech's cruel experiments. It was a ticking time bomb disguised as a sanctuary, a vault enshrouded in false hope that mirrors its surroundings. Vault-Tech marketed Vault 95 as a haven for those seeking to rebuild their lives, free from addiction. Residents adhered to the Vault-Tech rehabilitation program with daily support meetings and strict rules overseen by an elected leader. Overseer elections took place annually on October 30th, ensuring a rotating leadership that fostered community trust. By all accounts, the program was working. Residents were cooperative, bonds were forming, and people were overcoming their struggles. Jane Myers, the elected overseer in 2082, was tasked with ensuring the program's success. But, you guessed it, there was an evil twist. Among the residents was a planet agent, tasked with observing their progress and when the time was right, unleashing chaos. 5 years after the vault sealed, the agent opened a hidden stash of drugs and alcohol. The results were catastrophic. When the stash was revealed, the bonds that held the community together unraveled almost instantly. Some residents succumbed to their old habits on the spot, while others resisted longer, only to break down as violence erupted around them. Friends turned against friends, and the vault descended into chaos. One resident, realizing the deliberate nature of the setup, recorded their outrage, condemning Vault-Tech's manipulation. The experiment's outcome was devastating. By the time it was over, the vault was left a shadow of what it had been, a monument to Vault-Tech's unnecessary twisted curiosity. By 2287, Vault 95 has been repurposed by the Gunners as a heavily fortified base. Approaching the vault is no small feat, with guards, assaultrons, turrets, and even a Mr. Gutsy patrolling the entrance and interior. Once inside, an elevator takes you deeper into the vault. The entry corridor is laden with laser tripwires and traps, leading to an advanced locked door that controls turrets in the nearby atrium. The vault itself branches into 3 main sections. The facilities wing, which is located to the south. This area includes a cafeteria on the lower level and a research room, clinic, classroom, detox facility, and a clean room on the upper level. You can also find a trunk in the detox facility. Then you have the residential wing to the north. This heavily trapped section leads to the living quarters, where the hidden stash of chems is located. The living quarters also house an armor workbench and several rooms, each with haunting reminders of the vault's hopeless history. The atrium is the central hub of the vault. It includes the gunner's bunkhouse and a reactor room below. Then you have the overseer's office and a makeshift hair salon above. The overseer's terminal provides insight into the life of the vault before its fall, including a nod to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest in the form of resident named Randall. If you're curious or a junkie, the hidden stash of drugs, a catalyst for the vault's downfall, can still be found in the living quarters, behind a broken wall near the restrooms. Skeletons in vault jumpsuits lie scattered around the stash. These are also reminders of the chaos it unleashed. One skeleton clutches 2 doses of Psycho in a restroom stall, and one room features a tea party setup complete with a mannequin and jet. What began as a place of healing became a crucible of destruction, all for the sake of research. Today, the Gunners have claimed its halls, but the huffs of its past remain. From the skeletons of its former residents to the Overseer's records, every vault tells a story. And this one is a story of betrayal and the fragility of trust.
I've marked Vault 96 on your map. We don't know what we're walking into, or even how we'll get in, to be honest. We'll need to be cautious.
Like the other vaults, Vault 96 was sealed shut when the Great War happened in 2077. Built around 2074 and finished by August 2077, Vault 96 called itself an Ark for the Atomic Age. It was one of the biggest cryogenic storage facilities ever, holding about 10,000 animals inside. The vault's public mission sounded noble. It was supposed to monitor how the post-war world was doing, check how radiation messed with animals, and help bring back species to restore balance. But once the vault was locked, the real mission turned out to be way more complicated. The residents found out they were supposed to do genetic experiments, study mutated creatures, and create ways to fight against them. Their findings were sent to outside facilities. Every week, the vault's mainframe gave out quotas, which the Overseer would assign to the residents. The Overseer also had to keep track of progress and make sure they hit their goals. The vault was meant to run for 250 weeks, and after that, all residents were supposed to be killed, leaving only the Overseer alive to leave. One more secret was added to the vault: Cryogenics Bay 86, which held something called X001 that could only be accessed by automated systems. Vault 96 had just 5 human residents: Overseer Eric DeMarcos, Janet Higgins, Hans, Nina, and Molly Cooper. They were all super talented and highly trained for their roles, most coming from top jobs or fancy teaching gigs. But during their first initial meeting, the others immediately hated Eric. They were creeped out by the unethical experiments and the looming threat of being killed if they didn't meet their quotas. Over time, they adjusted to their roles, but it was obvious that only the biologists were really needed. Everyone else just felt like a backup team with fancy titles. At first, the biology team earned just 4 credits a week. To keep up with the quotas, they had to run experiments, forcing mutations on animals and making them fight each other to see which traits were strongest. Over the next 3 years, the team kept documenting mutations, starting with natural abilities like electrogenesis, venom, and regeneration. By week 100, they'd moved on to crazier stuff like chameleon-like camouflage, pyrokinesis, and even cryokinesis. In week 142, things got extremely weird. The biologists accidentally discovered a new mutation while working with specimen X001's DNA. When they put it in a petri dish, it spread to all the other dishes, perfectly copying their abilities. Nina tried to learn more by studying specimen X001 directly, but she didn't have access to the super secret Bay 86. One of the abilities they found, called shifting, let creatures teleport when stressed, but it could go horribly wrong. Sometimes they'd teleport into another creature, fusing together into a nightmarish mess. By week 148, Nina couldn't meet the insane quota of 568 credits because she couldn't stabilize or improve the shifting mutation without access to X001. As a result, the mainframe killed her. The rest of the team was furious and blamed Eric, the overseer. But Eric revealed something shocking after he turned off the mainframe's monitoring in his office. For over 2 years, he'd secretly been working on a way out. Eric was just as trapped as everybody else. He developed a computer virus called Terrify, originally meant for the DIA, that could take down even the mainframe. The plan was to use Terrify to shut down the system and escape the day before the quotas reset. When the day came, the residents went through with the escape plan. Everything seemed to be working until the mainframe activated superseding Protocol Omega, sealing the vault and killing all of them. Even though the residents didn't survive, the virus succeeded. The mainframe shut down, leaving the vault open. As a result, animals began escaping, and the vault triggered its emergency management system to call for help. Around 2103 or 2104, Edgar Blackburn took over Vault 96, using its advanced research equipment to develop a stronger strain of FEV that he believed could help humanity survive in the wasteland. Sounds familiar to me, but his methods were brutal. Blackburn's team ran deadly experiments on kidnapped, unwilling people like Cassie Holloway.
Nutjob was dosing me with diseases, though. Said he was testing incubation and immune response times.
His cruelty didn't stop there, however. He once electrocuted a mole rat with thousands of volts. To keep the vault secure and bring in human test subjects, Blackburn hired a group of mercenaries called the Hellcat Company.
Research log, Dr. Edgar Blackburn. Number 112. My work's demand for human subjects has increased dramatically as I make ground toward my ultimate goal. To this end, I have contracted with a group of mercenaries calling themselves the Hellcat Company.
They didn't care about the ethics of his work, and in return, Blackburn promised them the right to salvage anything they wanted from the vault. At some point, Tally Lang and her gang of Blood Eagles followed a group of Hellcats into Vault 96, hoping to loot the place. Her crew, which included Needles, 8-Ball, and Dillo, caused chaos inside, leading to the death of Woods and several mercenaries. Unfortunately for them, they ended up trapped inside the vault. While tracking down Blackburn, Odessa Valdez and a Vault 76 dweller arrived at Vault 96. Inside, they found Woods on the verge of death and had to decide whether to let Tally and her crew go after freeing them.
Thanks again. Maybe we won't even shoot you if we see you again.
Later, Valdez and the dweller discovered Cassie and 2 others, Peterson and Wilkins, locked in a chamber. After rescuing the trio, they finally confronted Blackburn in the Overseer's office, where he was captured and his twisted experiments brought to an end. If all of this sounds like one big quest, that's because that's exactly what it is. This is part of the main quest for the Steel Rain add-on DLC for 76. So what happened to Blackburn? Well, Blackburn surrenders without putting up a fight. When questioned about his work on the FEV and his role in creating more super mutants, Valdez loses her temper, reminding him of the attack on Fort Atlas caused by his research.
After seeing what you've done here, I hope hell does exist.
Despise me if you will. I took no pleasure in what had to be done.
Despite this, Blackburn stands by his actions, insisting that his experiments were for the greater good, even if he deserves to rot in hell for the lives he's destroyed. Following earlier orders, Blackburn must be taken alive to face trial for his crimes. Pressing him further reveals a chilling truth. His FEV research is already complete, and it's too late to stop his plans from unfolding. Valdez allows the player to return to Fort Atlas while she awaits for medics to rescue the prisoners and take charge of escorting Blackburn back to the fort herself. This marks the end of the current mission and sets the stage for the final quest, the Catalyst. Blackburn, Steel Rain, and all of this are interesting, but we don't have time to cover those stories. Plus, this is still about the vault, right? I'm sure you're wondering what this particular vault looked like and its layout. The outside of Vault 96 features a raised platform with a helipad accessible by stairs. A broken freight elevator is stuck between levels, and the area below the platform is scattered with old vehicles. The platform itself holds construction materials, machinery, and a small booth with some junk items and glasses. The vault entrance, covered in ice, can be accessed via daily ops or by traveling directly to it. Inside, the entrance has 2 levels. The upper level with monitoring terminals and a staircase leading to a lower level with lockers, a weapons workbench, and icy paths. Moving north leads to a hallway, the atrium, and rooms like emergency ventilation filled with lootable items. The atrium, coated in ice, connects to multiple areas. The upper level accesses the mainframe wing, a workroom, and other parts of the vault. The lower level includes past the living quarters, a cafeteria, and reactor monitoring. The lounge has a bar, pool table, and jukebox, while utility rooms leads to labs like the chemistry and imaging labs. The research wing, a large area filled with test chambers and utility tunnels, is designed for experiments. Each chamber simulates different environments, like railroads or rocky terrain. The tunnels connect chambers and hold machinery and junk. The upper level includes catwalks with notable items like a biology workstation terminal and a mysterious blue pod. The cryogenics wing houses dozens of cryo chambers and workbenches, while the reactor wing powers the vault with reactors and consoles. The workroom links to living quarters and other sections with remnants of past experiments scattered around. The mainframe wing is heavily iced and spans 3 levels. It includes the vault mainframe, archive rooms, and robotics lab. The lab contains robot fabricators and terminals used by Vault residents, with items to loot and machinery throughout. Vault 96's design reflects its focus on advanced research and cryogenics, blending frozen environments with high-tech experimental facilities. Something pretty unique to vaults up to this point. Vault 111 has similar aesthetics, but we'll get to that soon. Vault 96's history is one of scientific ambition overshadowed by unethical practices and suffering, leaving behind a haunting legacy in the wasteland.
Don't forget to like and subscribe because we have a lot more vaults on the way and you won't want to miss those. We appreciate you watching, and remember guys, enjoyed time is never wasted time, and we'll see you in the next.